Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Lilo & Stitch, which is the 5th movie in the post-Renaissance era of Disney animation, is their 42nd movie overall, and is the directorial debut of both Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. I hope I pronounced that last name right, but these are the two directors who would later go on to do How to Train Your Dragon as their next movie after Lilo & Stitch, and then Chris Sanders would go on to direct The Croods, which was another DreamWorks movie, and then he went to direct Call the Wild, which was garbage. But we're talking about Lilo & Stitch, which is a movie about a young girl living in Hawaii with her adult sister. Both their parents have died in a car crash, and they have a very rocky relationship. The oldest sister, Nani, is trying to maintain a steady job, keep in an income, and just make sure everything's good between her and Lilo. Otherwise, a social service worker, voiced by Ving Rhames, is gonna take Lilo away. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, there's this little alien that was created known as Experiment 626 that's scheduled for extermination, but flees, heads to Earth, ends up becoming Lilo's dog and goes by the name of Stitch, and it's not long before Stitch's creator and another member of the Galactic Federation are after Stitch himself. This was actually the last Disney movie I saw in theaters up until 2009 with The Princess and the Frog. Back when I was younger, I remember watching Lilo & Stitch quite a bit. I remember seeing it in theaters, but the big thing that really stood out to me was its very bizarre marketing campaign. And if you look at this poster, the poster is pretty much Stitch in the center of it, and all the other Disney characters just staring down with this disapproving look, except for Jasmine, who apparently is turned on by Stitch. But most of the trailers for Lilo & Stitch began with scenes from Disney Renaissance films like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, but Stitch is inserted to them in some way. Whether he's surfing along the waves as Ariel's singing Part of Your World, whether he's on the chandelier in the ballroom during the big dance scene in Beauty and the Beast, whether he pulls up next to Aladdin and Jasmine during their magic carpet ride and pretty much steals Jasmine from Aladdin, or when he replaces Simba during the opening of The Lion King. It was such a bizarre series of trailers that pretty much painted Stitch as the ugly duckling. And you know what? As bizarre as those trailers were, that wasn't too far off from what the movie was. Now, I like this movie. I liked it when I saw it in theaters, I liked it when I was a kid, and I've never had any dislike towards it at all. But back then, I was just more interested in the alien aspect of it all, watching Stitch be as monstrously adorable as he is, and I didn't really think much else of it beyond that. Watching this movie again as an adult, there is so much more that really makes this one of the better movies of this era. And it's one of the main aspects that made How to Train Your Dragon such a great movie, and that's sort of the underdog and misunderstood outcasts, whether it's Lilo, who's just going through the motions because of the death of her parents, or Stitch for trying to figure out who he is and where he actually belongs in the world, and can he be more than what he was created to be. It sounds very similar to E.T. and The Iron Giant, which I think are infinitely better movies than Lilo & Stitch, but the one thing that Lilo & Stitch does that both E.T. and The Iron Giant don't is give Stitch a background. Give him more of a character arc than either E.T. or, to an extent, The Iron Giant. I mean, The Iron Giant did get an arc in that movie, but Stitch's is more developed. And as sadistic and hilarious as Stitch can be throughout this movie, there are so many heartfelt moments where Stitch is cast off to the side, he's rejected, and maybe it's because he tries to disguise himself as a dog throughout most of this movie, and we as human beings love dogs, but you just feel so sorry for Stitch. And his voice is rather amusing. There are points where it sounds like Andy Serkis's Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but it's a nice mix of funny yet also sympathetic. The other thing that makes this movie work so well is the sister relationship, which I never thought much about when I was younger because, you know, I'm a guy, and growing up I had a younger brother by 4 years. But as an adult, I can appreciate how serious they take this relationship, where, yes, these two are constantly arguing with each other, they get into fights, and they are incredibly broken as a family. But at the end of the day, these two still love each other, they care for one another, and just can't live without the other. And it's honestly a more well-done relationship than in Frozen. But in Frozen's defense, it takes a different approach to its sister relationship and says, true love can't be found through somebody of the opposite sex. It can be found within your own family. And that sounds really weird the way I phrased it, but no, get your mind out of the gutter with that. So the sister relationship in Frozen works, but I think because Lilo and Stitch benefits from being a little more realistic, this wins in that department. So that's the main element of the movie that I didn't really care about that much as a kid, but learned to appreciate as an adult. Funny enough, the big thing that I loved about this movie as a kid that doesn't work as well as an adult is everything involving the Galactic Federation. Now, everything with Stitch is fun, but I feel like the opening of the movie and any scene involving Stitch's creator and the Galactic Federation's Earth expert is just generic, it's bland, and the only reason I see for that opening to exist is to give us Stitch's background on who he is and how he develops throughout the film. Everything else involving the Galactic Federation is just very typical Star Trek 101. It's nothing original, it's not all that creative. It's kind of weird how some of these aliens are actual alien-looking creatures, but some of them look like anthropomorphic animals. Like you have a hammerhead shark skipper, you have an armadillo, you have a pig, you have velociraptor security guards. It's bizarre, but then again, all of that is not the movie's main focus. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, did you have a problem with the opening for Bumblebee? Because there are a lot of elements in that movie that are taken from Lilo and Stitch when you really think about it. But the reason the opening for Bumblebee worked is that we've had almost 40 years of Transformers backstory. So because of all that background, the opening of Bumblebee works, whereas for Lilo and Stitch, this is all original, and I just don't think it works. But once again, the Galactic Federation stuff is the least important elements of the movie. The important elements involve Lilo and Nani's relationship and how Stitch tries to find his way in the universe. Is he bound for more than being a simple killing machine or a destroyer? And while those aspects are very heartfelt and made with a lot of care, the movie itself still is funny. When you don't have any dramatic scenes with Stitch, he's very funny. And also the movie looks great, the animation's spectacular, especially with some of the surfing scenes. And the action does use a lot of CGI models, but again, like with other Disney movies, they're animated in a way to where they blend in with the 2D animation. It also has a great soundtrack, which mainly consists of a lot of Elvis music, whether it's original tracks or cover songs. It's overall a fun movie. I won't quite say get off your ass and go see it right now, but I will say it's worth seeing in your lifetime. The reason I'm not going to go that high is because it didn't make me cry in the way E.T. or the Iron Giant did. But for being a story that we have seen several times before, it does its job really well. And there you go, that's my review for Lilo and Stitch. Now, like I said before, this is Disney's 42nd animated movie overall. We have only 10 movies to go. We are nearing the end of the year and the end of this marathon. So, wow, it seems like just a couple weeks ago I reviewed Snow White, Pinocchio, and the other Golden Age animated movies. But this marathon has gone by quick, and so has this year. But like I said, we have 10 movies left. Next up, we're going to be talking about Treasure Planet, which was another Disney release in 2002 along with Lilo and Stitch. But this one I didn't see in a theater. In fact, I never watched it until just recently. So you'll hear my full thoughts on that movie in the review. But right now, I want to know what you guys think about Lilo and Stitch. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Lilo and Stitch. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, go check out my Twitch channel, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.